Slightly different video here, but one I really wanted to do because it's a fascinating story, as everything to do with West Ham and everything to do with supporting West Ham for a long time, because a fan has got in contact with me, and it's Ron. Now I have written back to Ron, but for reasons that you'll understand in a minute, I'm not sure that Ron will have got my correspondence. But there's one thing I do know from reading his letter is that Ron watches these videos, and I'm humbled, Ron, that you do, mate. I really am. So thank you so much. But I thought the best way to communicate with you was doing this, but I also really wanted to share your story, mate, because actually it's something, as you'll see in a minute, which I'm going to show you, is really really close to my heart. So I'll just read you the letter first of all, and it says, I'm going to have to change my glasses, please excuse me. It says, "Hi Gonzo, thank you for making it possible to keep in touch with all the latest Hammers news. I would like to share some memories you may find interesting. I started watching the Hammers as a boy during the war when the V2 rockets were falling while the game was being played, and the V1 Buzz bomb fell on the pitch and blew the roof off the stands." So just get that right here. The bomb, the doodle bug, I think the V1 was the doodle bug, came down and blew the roof off the stand, right? I mean, actually, no, we'll deal with that after. Let me read the letter. It said, "I had to go to White Hart Lane to watch the Hammers play their home games until the pitch was playable. On the return to Upton Park, the ground was packed, with supporters climbing up the steelwork of the stand because there was no roof. They got a really good view. Very often, a other would appear on the programme, depending on who could get away from military duties. But a team including Harry Medhurst, Charlie Bicknell, Lewis, Norman Corbett, Ted Fenton, Archie Macaulay, Terry Woodgate, Sammy Small, Wood, so it's a GNR, Wood, Len Golding, and Whitchurch on the wing. So please excuse the spelling, but at 90 plus years, I'm doing my best. Jock Dodds scored a goal, and the ball went through the net at Clapton Orion. As a Dagenham boy, I played for the schoolboys a few years before Jimmy Greaves, when we beat West Ham schoolboys 3-1. Happy days, I've got a hat-trick. Well done, Ron. Nice one. Was it with a perfect hat-trick? Left foot, right foot and a header? It says, "Best wishes, Ron Day." Where do I even begin with that? You know, when you get something like that, I'm amazed by it. I'm amazed by it. I just want to say something before I go into this stuff, because here's the point I sort of want to make. I've got some stuff to show you, Ron, because you won't have known this when you sent this, but I collect... a lot of this stuff will be familiar with you. I collect World War II memorabilia. It's my hobby. One of them, anyway. So I want to share that with you. I also just want to point out here, Ron is not the only person to contact me. So I just want to, because hopefully Paul watched this. Paul, I've still got your letter, mate, when... you know, Paul was so kind to send me some bits and pieces. He also sent me a John Lyall book, by the way. Never forgotten it, mate. It's actually lives up on the wall over there. So I just wanted you to know that. It's really hard to... I grew up in Ilford, Ron, so and I'm 48 now. So when I grew up, it was... I used to hang around Ilford and Seven Kings and Barking Side, and that's where my mates were. But a lot of people's garden sheds were Anderson shelters. So it was, I think actually we missed 2 days of school at least, because there was two separate unexploded bombs. World War II bombs were found in our school fields. That was just what it was like growing up around that area at the time, you know, in the 70s and 80s, was just full of people. You were just aware that the war was there and had been there, and there was always houses missing. You would look down the street and there'd be a gap where a house used to be. So you sort of grew up with the memory of the war, and it's one thing I've never known any more hatred than my nan and my granddad's generation sort of had towards Hitler, and still, you know, years afterwards they would. It's an overused word, Hitler, and it's an overused insult, by the way. But to have lived through people getting bombed and people dying, as I've got a very, very a story which I won't tell on this video. It's a sad story, and to live through that, and certainly when you told the story of the buzz bomb, and certainly when you that iconic, it's not iconic's a bad word, but that terrifying sound that's synonymous with that, and then not knowing, and in the silence, then not knowing where it was going to land, and wondering if you were going to be the one that got blown up. You're talking about truly horrific things there, and I've got to just say fair play to you, Ron, because I think you put a lot of it into perspective with your tale there, just about how resilient and how tough people were back then to have gone through basically not knowing whether you or your loved ones would be alive the next day. And I think it puts into perspective a lot of the gripes and the whinges that we have about West Ham. Certainly. So I wanted to share a few things with you, if I may, Ron. So, I mean, first of all, we've got a ration book there, and I, not so much anymore, I used to take this ration book into schools, into my children's school. I used to give talks about World War II and just explain what rationing was, and I felt it was really important for children to learn about it, and to get there and to see and to smell and to touch a lot of this old stuff which I collected. I've got so much stuff here, as I probably showed earlier on. Shell dressing there. Very, very little of this stuff is personal to me. It's just stuff I've collected over the years, and I would, as I say, give talks in schools and give talks in libraries. One of the so you'll recognise this, Ron, as it's a fire guard helmet, and it's actually got a dent in it because this was actually when a biscuit factory got hit during the war, and actually one of the it wasn't, I think it was wood, and one of the wood girders, one of the wood joists, rafters, fell down and hit this guy on the head. And actually his daughter gave this to me and said, I hope you will tell the story of that. So this has seen action. Something else that will be very familiar to you, Ron. This one's it's an air raid warden's helmet, so you would have you'd have certainly recognised one of these guys telling you what to do, blowing whistles and telling you where to go and whatnot. This one's actually lined, as you can't. Oh, you can see it, but sorry, the lighting's not really set up for doing this sort of thing. But I wanted to do it anyway. I think these are really important things to show as well, because everybody, as you all know, was issued with a gas mask, which you'll see just there. It's all right, the asbestos is out of it, by the way. There you go. I mean, it's all brittle. The rubber is very brittle now. Everyone used to have to carry one of those around, just, you know, in case of attack. What we have got here as well, as a lot of you will know, or some of you will know, as a Mickey Mouse gas mask. I don't mean it was a fake one, by the way. It wasn't a fake one. But it's what I gave them to the kids and the children. You can try and imagine how terrifying it must have been for children back then, and for the ones that weren't evacuated. I mean, even being evacuated must have been extremely terrifying, to be taken away from your family and sort of sent to the country, and just having family split up just so as they could live, so as they could survive. But it also, you know, doubly terrifying to be trained in wearing a gas mask. Why, and explain why you'd have to wear a gas mask to make them a little less sinister looking. They made them colourful. They tried to make them look fun. So they called them, actually, there is a separate one which I've got somewhere. I couldn't manage to get it all out, which has got ears, which they called the Mickey Mouse gas mask. And it was just to try and make it seem a little bit more fun to kids. I've got so much stuff, Ron. So much stuff. I just thought it might be good for you to. Well, you might be interested in seeing it, mate. You know, because obviously you'd have lived through a lot of this stuff. This is standard issue, standard army issue. These were never used, by the way. Honestly, it's a shame you can't smell it all in many respects, because it smells of history. It smells old. Air raid warden's letter there as well. And also, because we mentioned Paul earlier, I mean, look at this, by the way. In a West Ham bag, of course. I'm not going to open it now. It's a first aid kit. Do you know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I will. I just don't want to. I won't force it. If it comes open easily, I have opened it before. I'll probably leave it. I think that might be. Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a little bit forced. I don't really want to break it because it's so precious. But there you go, Ron. Some bits and pieces for you, mate. I've got other stuff as well. But I just wanted you to know that I'd received your letter and absolutely blown away by it, mate. And you know what, mate? 90 years of age now. You've moved to New Zealand. You've gone through a lot, mate. I think the hat trick is pretty epic, my friend. So thank you very much. I really, really appreciate the letter. Hope some others have watched this and, you know, maybe enjoyed seeing some of that stuff. I hope it hasn't upset anyone. It wasn't really the intention, but I do think it's important that people see that stuff. I don't like it when it just Remembrance Sunday comes around, for instance, and that's just the one day that you sort of remember this stuff, because I do think it's incredibly important. Anyway, that's it really. Bit of a weird video, wasn't it? Ron, all the best, mate.